Yes, Dr. Saiful. Dr. Saiful, can you hear me?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. It is a unique privilege and honor for me to welcome all distinguished global scholars, partners, honorable SLSD members, business leaders, professionals, and audience from home and abroad to our first international webinar on understanding and applying emotional intelligence, presented by Society for Leadership Skills, Society for Leadership Skills Development, SLSD, and organized by SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence. We have our annual signature program lined up in December 2020. This time, our signature program is International E-Summit on Emotional Intelligence. Certainly, we will share all details very soon about it. Once again, welcome to the International Webinar on Emotional Intelligence. On behalf of SLSD and SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence, I am Dr. Saiful Islam, the acting chair of the SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence. This international webinar on emotional intelligence is also taking place for the first time in Bangladesh. Emotional intelligence is the talk of the globe nowadays, in line with another buzzword, artificial intelligence. The importance of emotional intelligence is immense and versatile. 5 components govern emotional intelligence. In SLSD, we have already developed an online course on emotional intelligence, designed and delivered by our President and CEO, Professor Moinuddin Chowdhury. Professor Moin has been practicing, teaching, and training emotional intelligence for the last 15 years at different organizations. At SLSD, we use 5S to remember those 5 components such as self-awareness, self-management, self-motivation, social awareness, and social skills. This 5S tool covers all 5 components by Daniel Goleman, who is called the father of modern emotional intelligence. Without much ado, I would like to request Professor Moin to deliver his opening speech and inaugurate today's international webinar on understanding and applying emotional intelligence, presented by Society for Leadership Skills Development, SLSD, and organized by SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Moin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saiful Islam, Acting Chair, SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence. Today's session chair, Professor Dr. Nazrul Islam, distinguished global scholars from around the globe, business leader, professionals, and honorable SLSD members and other audiences who are watching us right at the moment, Facebook. It's really our privilege and honor to organize this kind of international webinar for the first time in Bangladesh. It is our first international webinar on emotional intelligence. At the same time, this is the webinar we are conducting for the first time in Bangladesh. So I would like to welcome you all to Bangladesh, virtually of course. And today's session is chaired by none other than one of my favorite personalities and leading professors, one of the best professors, dynamic professors, Professor Dr. Nazrul Islam, sir. And I'd like to inaugurate, keeping it open, and I'd like to invite Honorable Professor Dr. Nazrul Islam to chair the session. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Dr. Nazrul Islam. Sir, it's over to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Moin. Dear colleagues, you know that today's conference, web conference, will be on understanding and applying emotional intelligence. In fact, we would like to focus on what is emotional intelligence, because it is a heavily discussed topic in Bangladesh and also all over the world in present days. So we would like to make it clear that what is emotional intelligence, and also we would like to see or listen from some real successful entrepreneurs who are already emotionally intelligent and they have shown their success in their real business life. So we would like to also listen to from them and to know the application of emotional intelligence. So dear audience, I am directly entering into the technical session of this conference. And in this conference today, we have with us Professor Dr. Izaz Ahmed. He is the Dean of Division of Business, Columbia College, South California, USA. We have also with us Professor Dr. Priyadarshini, Professor on Head Management Studies, Tagore Engineering College, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. And also Professor Dr. Mamunala is also a faculty member of International Business and Strategic Management, Australian Institute of Business, Adelaide, Australia. Of course, we have with us the SLSD President, Mr. Moinuddin Chaudhary. He is the President and CEO of Society for Leadership Skills Development, chief patron, emotional intelligence activist and practitioner, and SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence. We have also with us two distinguished entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs with us. Ms. Tania Wahab, Managing Director, Karigar, award-winning successful entrepreneur. We shall listen to her. And also we have with us another successful professional, Ms. Nahid Islam Bithi, branding and modern management specialist, organizational change and HR head, Robi Exiata Limited. So now let us start with Dr. Izaz Ahmed, who is the Dean of Division of Business, Columbia College, South California, USA. Dr. Izaz will speak on self-awareness and self-regulation. Dr. Izaz, your time is 15 minutes.
Thank you. I'm not sure whether I'm able to share because it's saying that I'm unable to share the slides. So if you have the slides, can anyone share? Dr. Professor Moin?
You are not permitted?
It seems like I'm unable to do it. I'm not sure whether Professor Moin has it. So he'll be able to share the slide, and I only have few.
Anyway, I'm taking, okay, I'm taking the slide. Okay.
I sincerely appreciate the invite to speak to you, all of you, and we have a very distinguished guests and experts and practitioners today. I'm originally from Bangladesh. I have been living abroad for the last 20 years or so. And I understand that emotional intelligence, as you all know, is not a buzzword anymore. People have been practicing it. Leaders have been using it for their own benefit. And I will go through once the slides are up, I will go through a little bit of historical background, because I think it's important to understand that it is nothing new in the literature. It has always been there, but the practice has not been done properly. And those who have done, they have shoot out so up and high. That nowadays people are trying to find out. So if I want to be the CEO of the company from a general manager, how can I do it? And this is the reason why emotional intelligence now have been or has been very important. So um, let's see if we can. Yes, I think everybody can see the slides right now. So my name is Izaz Ahmed. I'm the Dean of Division of Business, Entrepreneurship and Technology at Columbia College in South Carolina, USA. I'm also a professor of business. I teach business analytics and leadership at the MBA program. I have been doing research on business, specifically on employee-employee relationship. And most of my research has been in terms of psychological contract breach of employee-employer relationship, and also about abusive leadership. But that's not the scope of today's discussion. So I will go into, oh, we lost the slides again, I think. Professor Moin, we lost the slides. So emotional intelligence, the actual concept appeared in psychology literature around 1960s, but though not in the context of employee-employer relationship, it was more about what are the different types of intelligence that we have, and there are 7-8 different types of intelligence that you can find in literature. Some of them are technical. We already know about different type of expertise intelligence that is applied. So as an alternative to that, emotional and social intelligence appeared in the literature in 1960s. However, the first empirical research on emotional intelligence was performed by Peter, Servo, and Meyer. And both of them were from the US. They were professors of psychology and in Yale and University of New Hampshire. And what they have coined the term emotional intelligence, then taken with Daniel Goleman's we lost the slides, I think. Okay, so in terms of Daniel Goleman's, which is right now the standard for emotional intelligence, he marketed it really well. And I think he made a fortune out of it because he came up with a practicing applicable way of assessing emotional intelligence. So he came up with these 4 or 5 areas that is very important for emotional intelligence. But if you look very carefully about the original empirical study by Peter and John Meyer, they suggested that emotional intelligence is nothing but a set of skills that you can understand your own emotion, and you can then understand, if you understand better yourself, then you can understand others as well. And you can then manage each other's emotions so that you have a harmonious workplace relationship, and it is applicable in many different contexts. In fact, it is said that a better husband will be emotionally intelligent, or a better wife will be emotionally intelligent in their marriage, because otherwise it will be very difficult. So if you look at the historical background, it has always been there. It was practiced in a different way, and it was marketed in the management field, again, in a way that was much, much more market oriented. But it has profound impact, because if you look at IQ or our intellectual intelligence, you can be an engineer with the degrees that you get from an engineering degree. And that will give you the access to a job or a business. But when you deal with people, or when you are in a context socially, your social intelligence or emotional intelligence plays the most important role in managing and leading them. In fact, I'll give a quote of the Chief of Army of Australian Armed Force once said that I do not manage. Once he was asked about leadership, he said, I do not manage heavy machineries. They do not listen to me. So I manage human being. So understanding each other is very important. I think that's one of the key concepts. Now, then emotional intelligence went really, really high. And in terms of applicability, in terms of marketing, and remember, it happened around mid 90s. So most of us who were at that time either at the workplace, some of us were probably studying, some of us were probably getting into the workforce, or we were just starting at the mid level. So if we go to the next slide, we will see some more about what is emotion and why we need to understand it. And remember that this concept of emotional intelligence is relatively new. When the concept in literature is about only 20, 30 years old, it is not considered a foolproof uh, theory. It remains a concept, and the applicability research makes it more prudent in coming years. So if you look at the definition of emotion and why we have to understand it, because emotions are very complex. It's a psychological state, and it involves what we define as either positive or negative emotions. Surprisingly, emotions are divided into these two groups, but it has a subjective experience, it has a physiological response. When we are emotional, we can laugh, we can cry, or we cry, or some people do not cry, they do not show their emotion. We have different ways of expressing ourselves, and then we have some behavioral, and that's how it works. Now, every day we go through a lot of micro, mini, or even smaller than that, nano emotional experiences. So your 24 hours is full of different types of emotions that we collect every day, and it impacts on us, on our behavior, on our understanding. Now, if you look at the way we express emotions in words, we have about 3,000 plus words available in, in terms of the language, different languages that we use. It doesn't matter whether we use English, Hindi, or Bengali, or any other Farsi or anything else. Most of the words that we have, majority of the words are for negative emotions. So that dominates more. So like anger, sadness, or some other ways. So that means, or heart as such. So out of the 3,000 words, more than 2,000 or nearly 2,100 words are negative and or describe negative emotion. So you can see what is the power of negative emotion. That's the reason why we have to understand about self-awareness and also self-regulation. So if you look very carefully, we only use about 1,000 words to describe our positive emotion. So finding positive emotion after an experience, after a situation is very hard as such. Um, so what are emotions and how is it different than moods? This is a very common question that we always get. And these two words are used synonymously in literature or even in practice. Emotions are a bit long term in terms of mood, and we can have vice versa. For example, some of the emotions can be short. Um, and this is the reason why we need to understand self awareness. So, every emotion that we have, um, you get an action signal or it asks you for an action. So, let's say you think about a certain person, you don't feel good. So it needs an action that you try to avoid. Sometimes you receive an email from someone, and you're trying to avoid that person or your boss, as such, let's say, or your supervisor, and you don't feel comfortable. So that is the state that you can see that what makes you angry. So knowing yourself is important because then you can control your emotion. So all emotion in this world are a call of action. It requires some sort of action. Okay. Now, if it doesn't call for an action, it is not called an emotion. So be very clear about it. So emotion equals to an action. So if you can control your emotion, you are emotionally intelligent. And if you all remember that in the conflict management world, we always have said that if you don't like something, say something. If you don't voice up, you are not. You will find that a lot of time that this happens, where we find that voicing up will be a good idea. Actually, um, emotional intelligence theory suggests the other ways around. That before you voice up, think about it, understand why you're going to voice up. Will it be a better idea if you don't voice up and say something else? So if we go to the next slide, we have the self-awareness. And Professor Moin, if you can go to the next slide, please. So the self-awareness is the first and the most significant step in understanding or becoming more emotionally intelligent. There is no other way. If you do not cross self-awareness and you understand yourself better, you cannot perform the other four. So this is the fundamental, this is the base. This is the reason why we will be successful if we are emotionally intelligent. And there are some proverbs that suggest that the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. So you cannot overnight become emotionally intelligent. It takes time, it takes practices. It needs an informed decision on yourself that how and why you need to control your emotion and divert your negative emotion. Remember, I said very clearly, we have more than 2,000 words to express our negative emotion. That cannot become your hindrance to your performance, or cannot become a problem to lead others. You do not lead machine, you lead people, teams, groups. So this is very important. Self-awareness means know yourself, okay? And when you know yourself means recognize your own emotion. What drives you crazy? What drives you happy? What makes you feel comfortable in a certain area, or let's say situation? Understand how it impacts you and others, and directly remember, why are we doing all this? Self-awareness, emotional intelligence is nothing but to make sure that we are um, improving our productivity, performance, and as Goldman said, this is the leadership material. Before Goldman, nobody said that emotional intelligence is important to be a leader. But we have seen a lot of people who are not emotionally intelligent, but they remain big leaders. Okay. And so this is the reason why we're doing it. So for general mass population to become leaders in their own areas, not necessarily leaders has to be the CEOs, but even leadership quality, you have to have emotional intelligence. Now, high self-awareness, if you know yourself really well and what controls your emotions, how can you manage those? You become self-confident. And high self-confidence means that you will be able to take up a lot of more challenges. Internally, externally, whenever the challenges come to you, you will be much more agile to the changes, the situations. So the COVID is a macro disruption, macro level disruption. So those who have high confidence, they were showing their confidence through their communication. And the crisis is omnipresent everywhere, but they will be able to manage those. Now, if we go to the next slide, that is about self-regulation. Self-regulation, on the other hand, suggests that how you control and redirect your disruptive emotions and moods. So the negative emotions that you have, how do you control them? So there is a general saying that you should always think before you act, right? For managers, leaders, it's also the case. And I mean, how emotionally intelligent you are and you are self-regulating depends on how quick you respond to the situation. So you go to your office in the morning and all the computers are broken. How will you react? Will you have an outburst and saying that this office has been like this for the last 10 years? I didn't have a pay raise. I'm you know I the computers are all broken. I don't like this place anymore. I need a job. Or you will think that why it happened. You will have an informed decision about it before you approach that what will be the solution look like. So self-regulation, self-control means that you are going to ensure that you redirect or control your negative emotion and use it for your decision-making process. So you are responsible as a manager or a leader for your act, not for your feelings. And this is the reason why we need to ensure that we understand ourselves better, we regulate ourselves better. Now, those individuals who have high self-regulation, they are considered among their peers, colleagues, trustworthy, they work with high integrity, and they're easy to take up challenges. The reasons are that they are confident they'll be able to manage people, they'll be able to manage situations because they can control their negative emotion and what that can impact on others. So these are the few things I thought I will discuss with you, and I'll hand over it to now Dr. Islam. If you have any question, you can always contact me through this forum or through email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ezaz, for introducing this important topic, emotional intelligence, to the audience. You are very correct that there are 1051 words that describe the positive emotions, whereas more than double words that describe negative emotions. And we know that negative emotions are harmful. Negative emotions are create disaster for individual life, for work life, everywhere. So it is the challenge to convert or redirect these negative emotions towards the positive emotions. As you are working on employee-employee relationships, so your explanation gives a complete idea about the overall issue of this emotional intelligence. You are right that there are basically three components of this issue: subjective, psychological, and of course behavioral. These three components of this emotional intelligence thing. And to be emotionally intelligent, it is not easy overnight. One cannot be the emotionally intelligent. It takes time to convert the negative emotions into the positive emotions. Although it is it is very difficult to convert the negative emotions, as those are harmful for us, into the positive emotions. And you have given the example that leadership quality is mainly because of the emotional intelligence, reflection of emotional intelligence. So thank you, Dr. Ezaz, for discussing in detail the self-awareness issue and self-regulation issue. Because if we do not understand ourselves, what are our emotional status, what about our confidence level, what are our what should I say, the weak points, so that we must understand first, and then regulation. And also we cannot blame others by our act. So we shall have to blame ourselves by our act. So that we need to regulate our self-regulation is important here. So Dr. Rezas, thank you very much for introducing this topic and discussing in detail this the two components of emotional intelligence, that is self-awareness and self-regulation. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Priyodarshini, Professor and Head, Management Studies, Tagore Engineering College, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. Professor Priyadarshini will talk on empathy, or in other words, you can say social awareness. Professor Priyadarshini.
Madam, will you try? Are you going to use PowerPoint? You can try. Yes, yes, she can. Thank you. Excellent.
I'm not sure, but can everyone hear?
I think I am not listening
yes,
to.
Madam, yes, a bit.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, now you are.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So thank you. So I really congratulate and feel it is as a privilege to be part of this forum. And it is a wonderful forum on emotional intelligence. And it is such a nice thing that Dr. Nazrul Islam has been the moderator, and SLSD has created this forum where across the globe we could meet on a virtual platform and we could discuss on all the things. And over to my topic. I have given a topic on emotional intelligence, the second dimension, to understand empathy. So the first professor, Dr. Ahmed sir, has said a very challenging task. You know, what is the biggest challenge in life is to understand ourselves. Okay, everyone says the biggest challenge in life is first to know ourselves. That is the first thing, the first challenge. So sir has taken that challenge and he has addressed like how we have to understand ourselves. And as Dr. Nazrul said, like you know, like how even a two negative words could create a damage on a relationship or on a business or on a management. So I'm here to talk on a topic that is like how do we improve the social awareness. That is one of the dimension given by Goldman. So let me get into the topic of empathy. So what is empathy? So empathy is a wonderful a diagram. So you see that two people are holding a like you know binoculars, and you can see like you know the colors are exchanged. So that is what is empathy. So understanding emotions in another person point of view. So how we understand, that is a definition given by empathy, but that is not alone is the empathy. What is that we can say as a empathy is I could feel your pain in my heart. That is what is called as the empathy. And you know, like it has been many research has been proved that empathy is a right-brained activity. It is a right-brain activity, the kind that many leaders consider as a touchy-feely discipline. So it is such a wonderful word, a touchy-feely discipline. So it when we say the both the angles, why I have just put on these both the angles to understand what is empathy in terms of relationship, and to understand empathy in terms of an organizational perspective, and to understand the empathy even in terms of artificial intelligence which is coming up. So I would try to touch upon all these things, how empathy is related to all these things. And evolution of empathy. So we always you know, like when we try to know something as academicians or anyone, we always have a curiosity where it has come from. Okay, where is this origination? So you know, the empathy, you know, it is a component of EI, but you know, it is the component which was discussed by Charles Darwin, yeah, you know, evolutionist. He said empathy is something which has like you know comes from the childhood state. Even a baby infant, okay, research demonstrate that even young babies have the capacity for empathy. Your child is very nagging when the mother is attentive, or when the mother seems to be with energetic, but the same child, will sleep. I think we all as a mom, or as a father, you could have also seen when you are sometimes very exhausted, without you expressing what is your feel, your child understands that something, yeah, my parent is not well, let me not be very noisy today. So that is the evolution of empathy. So you could see from a diagram, you can see that day, I just saw in my neighborhood, I saw a kid. When we asked the kid to wear a mask, now COVID, we are wearing mask all the times. What the kid did, it took the mask and it tied it to the teddy bear, which she used to play often. So that is what is empathy, when what we feel for others and how we try to express the feel, that is what is that empathy. And what is that sympathy? Because many people just mislead with sympathy and empathy. So what is sympathy is, I acknowledge that someone is having a problem or they are having a struggle, that is sympathy. But what is emotion is, I just express that I feel their pain, and I say that I put myself in your shoes. That is what is called as empathy. That is where, whenever you see empathy definition, it is comes like you put yourself in someone's shoes. Okay, a very funny diagram how to be sympathetic. When other teddy, when a doll is broken, it says, oh, that's too bad. That is sympathetic. But is what is empathetic is, the broken hand is is held by the other friend. So it says that don't feel bad. I give you my hand. That is what is empathetic. So the many of us are sympathetic. Okay, we are sympathetic. We feel, oh, it's happening. Okay, well, what to do? So, but what is the world expects, or what we need to be to be more of empathetic, which makes us more successful and which builds us the relationship too. And then what is the outcome of being good empathetic person? So when you show a deep empathy towards others, your defensive energy goes down. This is it is proven by many psychologists. It says that the defensive energy goes down and the positive energy comes up. Okay, so where the problem gets solved on its own, whether you are a manager, or whether you are a subordinate, or whether you are a teacher or a student or a husband or a wife, when we show more empathy, what happens is the defensive, when we try to protect our thoughts, it goes down, and the positive energy on its own, okay, it's a psychological thing, so which comes up and the problems get solved on its own. So this is the outcome of empathy. And now let us relate it to emotional intelligence. Okay. So what is emotional intelligence and how is empathy is connected to the emotional intelligence? So if you see, I just have a pyramid of emotional intelligence. Okay. So as like what the first, the Professor Ahmed sir said, emotional stimuli, self-awareness, self-management, all these things comes up in the pyramid stage. And then the pyramid is built up by social awareness, and it is next, it goes the social skills, and then transcendence, and finally is your emotional unity. So I just want to quote this pyramid to understand where empathy stands in this EI pyramid. So from this pyramid, we can understand that empathy is in all the layers of upper pyramid. So your basement is what is like, about yourself, your self-awareness, but that doesn't stops with your EI. So the next pyramid level is to understand others, to express your feeling for others. So that is what is that empathy. So that is where it says that empathy is in all layers of the upper pyramid, and it is our empathy that helps us towards emotional unity, and we will be able to attain a self-actualization. So you take the case studies of many leaders or many people, social workers, or many innovators, based on some problems what they faced. They don't want others to face the same problem, even like invention of a light, or invention of a flight, or invention of any, behind many inventions you can see a story of empathy, where they don't want the fellow members to be affected by it. And what is that happens because of high emotional intelligence? You will be able to accept self and others, and you can communicate assertively. It is not aggressively. We can communicate assertively by displaying a proper empathy. What happens if we have a low emotional intelligence? We have a lack of empathy, and we are always aggressive in communicating, and we are not able to accept ourselves or to others. So that is what has happens because of the high and low EI, and how we could relate it with your empathy. And next, coming to the types of empathy. So what are all the different types of empathies? We have cognitive empathy, that is understanding another person's frame of reference, their thoughts of reference. So affective empathy is like where you are able to understand their emotions, their feelings, that is called as the affective empathy. And what is somatic empathy is how you show the physical reactions. Okay, so you give a tap, or you give a consoling, that's all is your somatic empathy. So your physical reaction associated with the empathy process. And next, when I did a research on EI, there was many diagrams. You see when you Google a lot about EI and EQ and IQ, it always says whether brain or heart. Okay, but what is something an interesting fact is our emotions govern a larger part of our intelligence. So it is not that IQ is something different or it is EQ is different, but both are interrelated. That is what I try to mean is, it is not something two different tracks. It is like interrelated. IQ and EQ are interrelated. So what is that is, our intelligence is governed with our emotions too. So that is a study which is done in 2012, and neuroscientists have found out that emotional intelligence and cognitive intelligence share the neural systems. And in this forum, I would like to share something very interesting. What is that is, we know the everything is replaced by machines. I think we all know the emergence of artificial intelligence. So intelligence through machines. And what is that? Even for implementing a mission, they just wanted to post the emotions to the machines for the effective functioning of the, or effective success of the AI. So that is what is that studies have been proved. So we can't have you can't have human-like intelligence for missions without emotions. So a study has been done with the healthcare sector. So what was that? There was a cases for handling dementia. What is we all know dementia. Dementia is like where a mental disorder where we forget things, where the patient forget things and they behave out of their mind. So that is what is dementia. So it is a very rare disease, but it is faced nowadays. Many people are getting this disease, and it is faced by elder people. Elder people incur this disease. So what was problems faced by many doctors who were treating dementia patients is, they faced a lot of burnout. That is, they were exhausted at the end of the day, and which was found to affect on the quality of care, what they were able to show to the patients. So AI robots were introduced, and empathy was posed on that AI robots. And what happened is, it acted as an intermediators between the doctor and patients. And later on, it was found that the results were found to be so amazing that the burnout of the doctors and nurses were reduced, and even the patient care was found to be a better thing. So something which was a proved case study. So that is something, an interesting fact, where we can know a concept called as artificial empathy. So which shows a concept called as artificial empathy for coding empathy into machines. See, why I just wanted to put this here is because empathy is something to know how important is empathy. So because it is not that for only for humans, even for making a AI to be successful, we need to pose empathy to that. So that is what is that I wanted to post it in this forum. And we always get a question because when I did a paper on empathy for doctors and nurses, so there was a question from one of the management person. He asked me, you say that okay, you need to be empathetic, okay, it is for you have done something on healthcare sector, academicians, that is all is fine. I wanted to know, as a manager, if we are more empathetic, don't you think our subordinates will take over us? Okay, that was a question posted by one of the participant who was a manager. But is it okay or not okay? Empathy in business. So to answer that, I have taken some more references from the books of Daniel Goleman. So where he has said that empathy is not only seeing things from other perspective, it is a smart leadership, and it is also a art of stepping into another person's shoes, so where you are able to guide their thoughts. And also a study conducted by Google survey, so for employees, it did find out that the people with good empathetic skills and EI skills were able to deliver a good customer service. And we have so many eminent entrepreneurs who could share their views on that. And then the next thing is, it was found that an interesting fact given by Goldman in his book, he said empathetic employees were able to serve better in overseas assignment. They were able to be a better employee in overseas assignment because they were found to have an ability of understanding unspoken norms of behavior and mental models of different cultures. So that is a study found by Goldman. And there are others, quotes from different forums that which says that the leaders who are good in empathy are able to be a good person in workplace, which was done through a data of 6,731 managers. It showed a positive correlation between empathy and job performance. And also, other thing, very important thing. So one of the important aspect of being a human being is we want to be in a good relationship. So human is their primary need is having a good relationship. So the best key for a good relationship is empathy. Yeah, there was a study in Indian marital codes. There was so many it was done with the people who were divorced and people who were married for long years. It was found that even the previous Ahmed professor stated that, so the more empathetic partner, there are less number of divorces. So it is, the empathy is not that for only for organization, it's not only for machine learning, it is also for better relationship. And I would also like to end up by stating that there is found to be a decline of empathy among the present generation of students. Recently a study done by University of Michigan reported that there is a decline in empathetic skills. So which has been done for 8 years. The statistical graph stated, it is declining. So we have to, as academicians or the forums like SLSD, we can create more awareness on these concepts where the emerging young managers can enhance their EI, so which will be able to enhance their empathy and also their better relationship management and better employee engagement. And it is like, as said, it is developable, and it is not that something which we cannot change throughout our life. And a very nice quote earlier, the professor said, it is like laying a seed which we cannot expect a plant to come. So being empathetic is not an instant fix. It takes more patience and more perseverance. And also it is very much needed in this remote culture where, we all work, we don't see each other, we don't feel each other, but we work virtually. So the remote culture of empathy is the need of the heart. And finally, a simple thing, How do we develop? You see the world from the eyes of someone, you appreciate others without any judgment, you understand their feelings, and finally you communicate that you understood them. That these are all the simple 4 steps by which we can be more empathetic. And finally, I would like to end with a quote. People will forget what you said, what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. It is a wonderful quote. I think we all would have experienced the persons who have made us feel so happy, who have given us so much of warmth, or who have delighted us. We never forget those people. So that is what is that I would like to end up. And I thank all the eminent personalities for listening to me. And thank you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Priyadarshini, for detailed discussions on empathy, one of the very important components of emotional intelligence. Yes, it is nothing but sensing others' feelings and perspectives and taking an active interest in their concerns. So it is concerned with anticipating, recognizing, and meeting the needs of others. And it is sensing what others needs in order to develop and boost their abilities, and through mentoring and coaching. You have mentioned in your discussion that empathy is at all levels of the emotional intelligence pyramid. What you shown here, I know that you did your PhD on emotional intelligence, so your discussions are so in depth, and you have shown this pyramid. And if you look at this pyramid, then we see at all levels of the pyramid, emotional intelligence empathy is built in. And you have also mentioned that high emotional intelligence and low emotional intelligence. You distinguish these two, and also mentioned that high emotional intelligence means higher level of empathy too, and low emotional intelligence means lower level of empathy too. So if we would like to improve or develop our emotional intelligence, then we must have higher level of empathy too. You have also identified 3 areas: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, or you called here as somatic empathy. That means thinking, feeling, and doing part of our understanding, of our judgment and evaluation. And in each and every part of these 3, cognitive, that means thinking part, affective, feeling part, and somatic or doing part, empathy is highly concerned. And also you mentioned that empathy, emotion governs our larger part of our emotion, and empathy is important for the group network and group relationship and group work. Thank you, Professor Priyadarshini, for discussing in depth, for analyzing in depth of this very important component of empathy, which is usually mistaken by the general people. They confuse between sympathy and empathy. Empathy is more than that sympathy. Thank you, madam, for discussing in detail. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Mamoon Ala, lecturer in international business and strategic management, Australian Institute of Business, Adelaide, Australia. Dr. Mamoon Ala will discuss on self-motivation. This is another component of emotional intelligence. Dr. Mamoon Ala.
Can you all see the slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this international webinar. I'm a bit disadvantaged because it's about 1 o'clock and I generally sleep at 10 o'clock. So 3 hours already late, but So please forgive me if you see that my energy is waning. So this topic, motivation, as an element of emotional intelligence is really interesting. Although motivation is really very well-known topic or idea. Now, with my little knowledge of emotional intelligence, because I am envious of other speakers here to see their in-depth knowledge about emotional intelligence, but I will try my best to relate motivation with emotional intelligence in this brief presentation. Let's revisit emotional intelligence briefly. There are 5 elements: self-awareness, that is knowing how you feel; self-regulation, it's about regulating or managing your emotions and impulses; empathy, sense and understand what others feel; self-motivation, you can motivate yourself and also others; and social skills, that involves handling the emotions of others. Now, I think it's important to understand emotion, because emotion is so important for motivation. And we say emotional commitment to work and high motivation are strongly linked. Many empirical evidence are there about this correlation. Now, what is emotion? I don't think we need an answer to this as a human being, because we are full of emotion. But from the literature, we can define that it's a psychological state defined by subjective feelings, but also characteristic patterns of psychological arousal, thought, and behaviors. A complex interplay of psychological, biological, and neurological factors. So emotion is not that simple. It's really a bit complex. Care must be taken to understand your own emotion and the emotion of others, because it's complex. But handling emotion is not that difficult. And I hope after this webinar today, we all will have a better understanding of how to regulate our emotion and use it in the most productive way. There are some external constraints on emotions, like organizational influences, cultural influences, and some positive examples of some positive emotions include joy, gratitude, serenity, interest, hope, pride, amusement, inspiration, awe, and love. Let's have a look at these words. We all long for this. Our whole life, the purpose of our whole life is to be joyful, to enjoy serenity. We hope, sometimes against hope. We love, and we want that people should love us. As an employee, I am a human being and full of emotion, and I actually take all these things to my work. And emotion is at the foreground of our consciousness and has clear focus about meaningful circumstances in the past, present, or future. And another important thing is that emotion comes from our perceived rate of progress towards important goals, because life is full of goals. We have a lot of goals as an individual, as an employee, as a leader, as a follower. And our progress to achieve that goal is influencing our emotion. we'll come to this point again. So motivation is, I won't go into detail about discussing motivation because everyone knows much about this. So motivation is internal processes that activate, direct, and maintain behavior over time, a process that reflects the surge and direction of efforts towards achieving a goal. And there are a lot of theories. We won't go into details. We'll just look at some of these theories. There are need content theory, self-determination theory, cognitive process theory, Bloom's expectancy theory, and job characteristics model. Now, if we look at few need content theory, we can see Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we know that we try to achieve self-actualization, and if we meet psychological needs, then we want security, and then so on. And then Cleland's achievement motivation. Again, we want achievement, we want power, we want affiliation. McGregor's theory X, importance to supervision, because some leaders believe that people are lazy, they don't want to work, and theory Y, those leaders, they don't want to micromanage the people because they think that people are motivated, and they try to further motivate people with rewards and recognition. And there are also other theories, including Hirschberg's dual factor theory, where we say that motivators are really achievement, recognition, work itself, how interesting it is, or responsibility, advancement, growth. And there are some factors, hygiene factors. If they are absent, we are demotivated, but their presence does not motivate us, such as company policy, supervision, and even salary. I don't know whether you believe it or not, but salary is a hygiene factor. It doesn't motivate you, but absence, if you don't get paid in 1 month, you will be demotivated. Relationships, work conditions, status, security, all these are hygiene factors of motivation. Then there is self-determination theory. This is really interesting because there are 3 basic needs are there. For example, one is competence. I want that people should recognize my competence, and I should be proud of saying that on my job, I do not get, I get much of a chance to show how capable I am. If I'm not getting that opportunity, then I'm demotivated. Then I want to relate. So relatedness is another basic need. Feeling connected to others, love and care for others. So people at work should care about me because I want to be related. I want some attachment, some bondage. And another need is my autonomy, control, ownership of my work. If I don't have that, then I'll complain that there is not much opportunity for me to decide for myself how to go about my work. So these theories really talk about motivation, but they also talk about emotion, underlying factor. As an underlying factor, they talk about emotion. Now, there are also intrinsic and extrinsic motivation where I have really some genuine interest to do something, then I will do some work, and that's my intrinsic motivation. And sometimes I just do for some external rewards, promotion, praise, money. So these are all theoretical aspects of motivation, and I don't want to go into detail of this. Now, what is the takeaway from this? Motivating leaders promote emotional well-being in the workplace. Motivational leadership focuses on creating and maintaining a facilitating mechanism to enhance emotional well-being of followers. Now, then we think that, okay, emotionally intelligent leader, what that leader will be like? That leader should look for emotional well-being of followers. Emotional well-being, we know that there's some examples of positive emotions. So it's about love, it's about trust, it's about um, warmth, bondage. And then experiences of people's positive emotions broadens people's momentary thought action repertoire, which in turn serve to build their enduring personal resources, ranging from physical and intellectual resources to social and psychological resources. So that means, again, if people are motivated, then they try to upgrade their skills, they try to upgrade their resources. And higher positive effect or emotion in the workplace stimulates intrinsic motivation and engagement, resulting in a higher level of task completion. So all these extracts are actually saying that motivation is needed to create positive emotion, and positive emotion will actually encourage people to achieve goals. Now, I don't want to take much time, so at the end, I have got some self-reflection or some concluding questions. Now let's think about what we do with our followers, or what our leaders do with us. Do I focus as a leader on caring for others, really genuinely caring for others, or we just don't care, we don't listen to others? Then do I focus on developing caring relationship? Do I create opportunities for others to practice caring and gratitude? So it's not for only myself. Do I create opportunities for others to practice caring and gratitude? And finally, do I act as a strong role model and mentor? Strong role model and mentor, you can be a strong role model and mentor only when people will trust you, people will love you, people will respect you. They will have positive emotion surrounding you. Finally, my favorite quote, and I have got a LinkedIn article on this. Rumi's quote, "Don't you know yet? It's your light that lights the world." This quote talks about your positive self-image. Your self-motivation comes from your self-belief, self-image, your positive self-image, your self-esteem. And if we can really understand and really can learn how to be thankful of my own power, then I will be self-motivated. I will feel that I can achieve everything. And I wanted to add another quote, but and if please forgive me if I'm wrong in quoting, but the idea is something like that, of Michelangelo's quote, an Italian sculptor of the Renaissance period, that the tragedy of ours is that we set our goal too low and we achieve it. Not that we set our goal too high and we don't achieve it. So I think self-motivation is that realizing own potential and also helping others to explore their own potential. And over to you. Thank you so much.
Sir, unmute. You have to unmute this.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mamunala. for discussing in depth the very important issue of a component of emotional intelligence, that is self-motivation. And I'm sure that you wanted to mean your discussion that it is concerned with the achievement drive of an individual. It is concerned with the commitment of the individual. It is concerned with the initiative of the individual. And of course, hello.
Yes, sir. We can
Hello,
hear you,
can
sir.
hear me?
We can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Sorry, which is highly connected to the emotional intelligence. And in your discussions, you have identified that there is a very strong link between emotional commitment and also self-motivation. And also, you discussed different motivational theories, identified motivators, hygienic factors, intrinsic factors, extrinsic factors, and also self-determination theory that explains 3 basic needs: competence, relatedness, autonomy, and so on. And also in your discussions, you try to say that motivational leadership will of course promote emotional well-being at workplace. So self motivation is actually, it's a force that keeps pushing us to go on. In fact, it is our internal drive to achieve, produce, or develop and keep moving forward. And when we think we are ready to quit something, or we just don't know how to start, our self-motivation is that what pushes us to go on. Thank you, Dr. Mamunala, for presenting this issue to the audience. Thank you, Dr. Mamunala. Now, I am going to invite very renowned speaker of Bangladesh, who is emotional intelligence activist and practitioner in Bangladesh, and also he is also a professor because he is teaching in Bangladesh University of Professionals, Independent University, Bangladesh, and also Institute of Business Administration, University of Dhaka. So he has a blending of this academia thing and also the corporate experience. So Mr. Moinuddin Chowdhury is also the CEO and President of Society for Leadership Skills Development and also the SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence. I would like to invite Moinuddin Chowdhury to speak on social skills, which is a very important component of emotional intelligence. As you know that basically there are two sides. 3 components are related to the individual. That means self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and motivation. 4. And empathy and social skills are related to the other side. So Mr. Moinuddin Chowdhury will speak on social skills, which is a very important skill for the corporate people and for, of course, I should say, for the academy also. Mr. Moinuddin Chowdhury. Chowdhury.
Sir.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Honorable session chair, distinguished experts on emotional intelligence from the other parts of the globe. And we are so happy that we are connected together. Of course, I highly appreciate our audiences here and on Facebook. I was just looking at their responses. I was just moving through browsing Facebook. It was huge, and it was for the first time we're doing it. So credit goes to our session chair, Dr. Nazrul Islam, and all these scholars present here. So, here we go. I'd like to talk about social skills. In 2000, actually, in 1996, this book, and then this book, again this book. I read 3 books like anything, actually. And the more I read, the more I get the insight of books. I attended so locally and internationally, because emotion is the power within. And with that practice, with the industry, and I have some sort of passion and deeper into it, and decided to publish another book in mind to make.
I'm afraid I can't hear anything.
Yes, we cannot hear you, Moinuddin.
I think we lost him somehow.
Maybe disconnected. Okay, let us wait for 1 minute.
This is part of the emotional intelligence we actually expose sometimes because of the mechanical, artificial intelligence. Sorry about it. And then I decided, actually, when I was asked by one of my clients, ICMAB, the Institute of Cost Management and Accountants of Bangladesh, to design a course for them. And I came up with the idea that leadership excellence, emotional intelligence, and it was fantastic. I conducted this in number of cities there. And I worked with some expert until now 150 on emotional intelligence in different types of formats. I already designed a course, already Dr. Saiful, chair of the School of Emotional Intelligence. Shortly, we have received huge responses from the market, and a lot of people are willing to understand what emotional intelligence is. About emotions in workplace, make a particular equation. Shortly, we have received huge responses from the market, and a lot of people are willing to understand what emotional intelligence is. About emotions in workplace, make a particular equation. Shortly, we have received huge responses. Can you Dr. Saiful, can you unmute someone? Can you unmute someone? Thank you. So it's all about performance in the workplace, and it is. And when you talk about the importance of emotional intelligence, mentioned by Dr. Saiful, is versatile and huge. So from leadership and what not, communication, problems, decision making, everywhere. It's all about how you fit into the windows of emotional intelligence. Builder conduct one employers say they value EI over IQ in their employees. 59% employers would know someone with high IQ but low EI in question. Just to share with all of you one particular research that talks. Okay, can you all hear me? I think it's the internet issue coming up and go.
We hear.
Dr. Saiful.
Yes, we have. Please continue.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
These are CEOs, renowned CEOs, he identified, we know CEO stands for Chief Executive Officer, and he changes the designation and he says Chief Emotions Officer. He found the characteristics of emotional intelligence among these successful CEOs. And as we know, there are 5 components, and I am taking care of the last component, social skills. Goldman, there are 5 components. Since we started talking about, of course, Dr. Reza has covered the modern history of emotional intelligence. I'm going for that. But what I'm trying to say is the same 5 core elements was designed by another Dr.
Internet connection is very much unstable. Please, sir, unmute your mic.
Okay. Same 5 core elements of emotional intelligence. Mark bracket out ruler, become the or ruled by the ruler. R for recognizing emotions in self and others. Understanding the causes and consequences of emotions. Labeling emotions, accurately expressing emotions appropriately, and regulating emotions effectively. And at the SLSD, we have developed 5S. Actually, the purpose is for people in general to remember the concept, the function of emotional intelligence. And I designed this 5S model for everyone to remember in brief to understand the impact of emotional intelligence. 5S, self-awareness, self-management covering personal competence, social awareness, social skills covering competence. And of course, for each of these components, we need motivation already covered by Dr. Mala. Without motivation, go deeper into of these elements could be the counterproductive of emotional intelligence. Now, what is social skill? When you say Wikipedia defines very nicely, very simply, social skill is any competence facilitating interaction, communication with others, where social rules and relations are created, communicate, change in verbal, non-verbal ways. The process of learning these skills is called socialization. Lack of such skills can cause, as opposed to awkwardness. So you feel uncomfortable. For each component, this book, Primal Leadership, Daniel Goleman, along with Richard and Annie McKee, talked about 19 competencies of emotional intelligence. And let's talk about the social skills part. People ask where to start the socials. And he talked about 7 competencies. Stephen is think on collaboration. And oftentimes we find these titles as learning program in corporates, like effective negotiation, conflict management, coach mentorship, team building, networking. There are different aspects. I mean, emotional intelligence is such a topic. It's a window opportunity to blend any other topic like leadership. You can see I conducted different programs, leadership with emotional intelligence, or career for. So and because it's all about human being, and the human being has the unique particular element, and we call it emotion, that separated us for other animals in the world. So now, I don't know why it's happening, but it's happening currently for the first time national seminar. So design 4 approaches to accelerate actually social skills learning issue. Like it could be individual efforts with the SWOT analysis, and then we can actually talk about SWOT, replacing the threat with the word challenge. And this approach can be, conducted, incorporated with nowadays with MOOC, massive open online learning, or paid, CSR project. But the challenges could be lack of proper motivation, like learning, to go learner might not motivate it. Probably misinterpreted, misunderstand his, strength and weakness. That could be the challenges, but otherwise, with individual effort, people can go anywhere where he wants to go. Conventional approach, the challenges could be the budget, expert by and the third approach, the community initiative. Different organization can help people to build. Dr. Peterson, he talks about creating awareness in the system, which we are doing LSD, but could be the learning of objectives, customization, and another challenge could be for the individual to and the impact of community learning. LSD, we try to help people with issues like learning a full-time partial scholarship. Right now, people are watching us from anywhere on Facebook, or our honorable members. They can do social and professional networking. They have the opportunity to improve their leadership, their ideas. They get free coaching from a successful life coach we have. But the fourth approach could be the academic part, which is very limited, and syllabus, curriculum, assessment challenges. Right now, there are different universities where emotional intelligence is part of academic subject. I am teaching business to understand the basics of emotional intelligence, or for organizational behavior, total quality management. They have a very precisely widen could be
Sir, please unmute yourself. Nazrul Islam, sir, please unmute yourself and please continue.
Is it finished?
I think Moinuddin Bhai was disconnected. His internet connection is very much unstable.
Just 2 minutes.
I'm almost at the end of the, sorry for interruption. It's lifelong learning we talk about by Alvin Toffler. The elite of the 21st century would be those who cannot read, write, but who can learn words, never stop learning, life never stops teaching. So any of the So any of the efforts at the 4 approaches can be part of the initiative to learn the social skills. So it's individual, the organization, the community to create awareness for learning, because learning is the only way out for human existence and sustainability. It's the same goes with the organization. Thank you very much. I'm really sorry for this interruption. Is the mission thing, and we have to emotionally accept it as part of our emotional intelligence. So back to our session chair, Professor Dr. Nazrul. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moinuddin Chaudhary. Because of interruption, we could not hear you properly. Anyway, you have sent us the written docs, so I am going to just say a few words on the discussions you made on social skills, which is a very important element of emotional intelligence. In fact, social skill is any competency, what you wanted to say, that facilitates interaction and communication with others, where social rules and relations are created, communicated, and changed in verbal and non-verbal ways. You also mentioned that social skill is a process of learning, and when people learn, then it becomes socialization. And if the person or individual lacks such skills, that can cause social awkwardness. So you also mentioned that the social skill is intangible, and social skills of a person can be measured only in real-time interaction. It may seem soft skills theoretically, but it may turn out to be hard skills at the time of execution. You also mentioned that social skill includes few components like influencing power, communication capability, leadership, that means inspiring, influencing and guiding groups and people. And also, if the person has social skill, he becomes a change catalyst. He can manage conflict better. He can build the bonds with others. He can collaborate and cooperate better and build the team. He can contribute in team building. That means he can develop team building capabilities. You also, in your lecture, you also mentioned that if we would like to learn these social skills, then there might have 4 approaches that can help us to learn the social skills. It can be learned from individual initiative, can be learned from organizational initiative, community initiative, and also academia, of course. Academia take initiatives, then people may learn these skills or adopt these skills. So thank you, Professor Moinuddin Chaudhary, for discussing this important aspect of emotional intelligence. That means social skills. Dear audience, research shows that emotional intelligence is responsible for 58% of our job performance and that 90% of top performers have a higher level of emotional intelligence. Dear viewers, now we have with us two corporate personalities, successful corporate personalities with us. And Ms. Tania Wahab, she is the managing director, Karigar, award-winning successful entrepreneur. She is with us. And Ms. Tania, Ms. Tania Wahab, I would like to invite you to just share your experience regarding this emotional intelligence thing. So my straightforward query is, how do you find the intelligent use of these emotions at work? Ms. Tania Wahab.
Thanks a lot for inviting me. Yes, it's very important to control the emotion or handle the emotional intelligently as an entrepreneur or as a business leader. I think it's more important because emotion is the most important part. When I start my career, I was an employer in an organization, in a big organization. Then when the time of the organization is start at 8 o'clock, and there was no time limit. So when I want to talk with the owner of the company that there is I need a time limit for my workplace, then he said that uh, if you are an owner or if you are an entrepreneur, you can understand that there is no time limit in our company. Why that there is no time limit? Then I decided that I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a company owner without any family support, without any backup. I start my business with full of emotion. And that time, most of the people said that I made a very wrong decision. I made the decision emotionally, but now they say that that was my best decision in my life. So yeah, it's very important, I think.
Thank you. You have heard the discussions that the experts of different parts of the world, they emphasized on, they mentioned that most of our emotions are negative emotions, not positive.
Yes.
So the challenge is how to convert these negative emotions into the positive emotions. Because if somebody is negatively emotional, then it can create disaster at his work or at his career, everywhere. It can create disaster. So as an entrepreneur, what would you say about your employee to convert these negative emotions into the positive, towards positive emotions? What would be your suggestions?
uh, with my employees, our environment is very friendly. We used to discuss about what they want, about their problems, and we always want to give solution, and we always want to talk with them, to discuss with them with their problems in our factory. And our factory environment is very friendly. When I started our business, we used to lunch together to make the to make the environment most comfortable for them. And also, in leather sector in Bangladesh, there is the workers are very vulnerable. Sometimes, as I am a SME entrepreneur, sometimes we need some workers, but we don't find the workers. So, and the workers are mostly vulnerable. They want to switch the job. So I decided to be more familiar, and also I gave them motivation, and we sometimes arrange some family day. Sorry, I missed my call. Okay, so uh, wish to solve this problem, the negative emotions.
Okay, now my last queries or just experience, share your experience. And you have mentioned that you made mistake in your decision from the beginning, from the starting of your business, and of course there was a loss and pain incurred because of the wrong decision and emotional decision. Do you think that an individual should make a wrong decision first to be positive, to have positive emotion? Is it connected with this, or someone can automatically become positive by giving effort? What do you think? The mistake or the pain of his actions can be the basis for being positive. What do you
Yes,
think?
sometimes anger, the negative emotion is more difficult to to continue the business. I have an experience that I made some corporate order for a big company in Gulshan, and then after delivering the product, they said that after they also distribute the product, but they said that the product is not good, so you need to give our the discount. So as an anger, I was so angry and I was so upset. Then I said that you don't know need to pay, and I don't need your money, and then I gave up and I came back. But now I think that that was my wrong decision. I should have emotionally think the positively and should intelligently I can maybe can solve this problem.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tania Wahab. I see from your discussion that you are trying to use this positive emotional intelligence at work. For example, you lunch together with your employees. That is a kind of emotional issues. You try to connect their emotion with you and with your organization. You also mentioned that family get-together program you organized and also organized. That is also another example that helped to be connected with the organization emotionally. You know, nowadays experts says that if you can emotionally motivate your people, then that motivation will be the real motivation, and that motivation will help you to go to the top of the success ladder. Thank you, Ms. Tania Wahab, for sharing your valuable experience regarding the application of emotional intelligence. Thank you. Now we have another senior speaker with us from corporate, Ms. Nahid Islam Biti, who is a successful professional and also empowering branding and modern management specialist, organization and change, and also HR specialist, Robi Exiata Limited, Ms. Nahid Islam Bithi. So I would like to listen from you that the same question. Do you think that the intelligent use of emotion at work can help grow business? Ms. Nahid Islam Bithi.
Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today here, and I'm grateful to the organization for the invite because I can share something of my experience nowadays. Actually, I am facing, and I would like to share those things with us through this program. So, yes, the topic itself is a very interesting today because emotional intelligence is something like what we are not conscious about. So every day we are doing our regular activities. We are going to office, we are talking to people, we are dealing with business deals and everything. So backward, this term stay silent sometimes. But the question is very important that Sir has asked, that business deal is how IE is important in business deals. So for an example, actually, being a HR professional, actually, so I would like to uh, actually excuse myself today, because whatever I would say in the people management perspective, because I don't know, my psychology and other activities actually allow me to go through the people management perspective. So whenever we are dealing with some this sort of business deals in our office, so we consider emotional intelligence in the decision making process, because when a person is angry or when a person is in rush, so if I am going to discuss my business deal to that person that time, so it would be a very difficult uh, situation for me to convince him or to convince her. So of course, knowing my strengths and weakness to talk about the business deal on that situation. So yes, to know the human psychology is important uh, for the business deal, for a successful business deal actually. So yes, so and another important part is when we are in meetings, especially. So people actually listen to each other carefully. So this is a very easier way to place your business deal with emotional intelligence in a meeting or in a session, in a forum, so that my proposal is accepted or is considered. So in this way, actually, in this kind of situation, we can deal with emotional intelligence, dealing with this.
Ms. Nahid Islam Biti, can you remember any practice or any incident where you used emotional intelligence to solve the problem?
Yes, of course, because every day we are dealing with this. So, especially, I can remember a situation when my team was changed, because in Robi, actually, I'm working for 2.5 years. And initially, I was recruited in resourcing team, and later on, I was chosen for the employer branding team. So, when my team has changed, so my line manager and my team members has also changed. So my behavior, my way of talk, and the dealing with the activities has changed also. So uh, first of all, I faced a lots of problem to deal with that. But when I started to observe my line manager's psychology, my line manager's way of behave, and her emotional intelligence, her situation when she is accepting my proposal or she is willing to listen my words actually. So my emotional intelligence helped me a lot to deal with a tough boss, to be very honest. So yes, so this is very important to apply your emotional intelligence in a very, very proper way to deal with your line managers.
Yeah, my last queries is, could you please share your experience about how do you keep yourself emotional intelligent at work? Could you please share
Okay,
your
so
experience?
yes, this is very important. So actually, very beginning, I already mentioned that we are not always conscious about this emotional intelligence. How we are reacting to the people, we are not conscious. So if the news is good news for me, I'm happy. If the news is not good for me, I'm sad or I'm reacting like angry or something like this. So first of all, I think according to my opinion, actually, I think we have to observe, we have to build an observing capability in ourselves. When we can raise our observation power within the environment of the people, so we can react accordingly actually. So whenever the situation is in my hand or out of the hand, so whatever the situation is, observation can help me a lot to deal with the situation. And uh, of course know the self evaluation actually, because how expert I am in dealing with people, when I can talk a better way, what kind of preparation actually I need to talk when I'm going to propose something to my office or to anybody in every situation. So So the self-preparation is important for that. So yes, and of course the responsibility. Whenever whatever the action is assigned for me, so if I am accountable, or if I am responsible toward that activities, so that helps me a lot to deal with this emotional intelligence in a very proper way, according to me.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nahid Islam Biti. And the few things came out from your discussion, that when people are angry or they are rash, we should not try to convince them. You will not be able to convince them. That means you wanted to say that we must give importance on the human psychology. It is very important, and that is, of course, the emotional intelligence. And you also mentioned that observing power is important. So in a meeting, if you can observe others properly, then you can perfectly participate or lead the meeting. That is sure. And for that matter, we need preparation, self-preparation. That means the first step, self-awareness. Preparation also is connected with self-awareness and self-regulation. So preparation is also very important, and which is connected with this emotional intelligence. Thank you very much for sharing your valuable experience with us, with the audience. Ms. Nahid Islam, thank you. Dear audience, we have almost came at the last stage of our today's webinar or web conference. And just I am going to sum up this whole discussions, and then I will hand over this program to Mr. Professor Moinuddin Chaudhary. In fact, we discussed a lot of things today about the emotional intelligence thing, and we covered a lot of the issues from the theory, from the history, from the corporate experience, and so that based on discussions made by the experts and the corporate personalities today, we can say that the emotional intelligence is concerned with the individual's ability or people's ability, individual's capacity, individual's skills or self-perceived ability to identify, to assess and manage the emotions of oneself, of others, and of groups. In a brief, we can say the 5 domains that has been identified by the speakers here: self-awareness, self-regulation, self-motivation, empathy, or social skill, social awareness, and also social skills. These 5 domains relate to knowing your emotions, managing your emotions, motivating yourself, recognizing and understanding other people's emotions, and managing relationships with others. So, dear audience, we can say, based on the discussions, thorough discussions, that from the birth to death, we need to be emotionally stable to avoid wrongdoings that have tremendous effect, that will have tremendous effect on our mind and of course subsequently on our everyday life. So emotional intelligence facilitates our capacity to recover from toughness or difficulties, motivation, empathy, reasoning, stress management, communication, and our ability to read and navigate social situations and conflicts that ultimately help us to go to the top of the success ladder. So in fine, I am going to conclude with the words of Daniel Goleman, who is the pioneer of this emotional intelligence concept. He said that if your emotional abilities are not in hand, if you do not have self-awareness, if you are not able to manage your distressing emotions, if you cannot have empathy and have effective relationships, then no matter how smart you are not going to get very far. Dear audience, with this, I would like to conclude here from my side as a session chair of this very important web conference. And I would also like to extend my cordial thanks to the distinguished speakers and the panelists and experts for attending this very important conference and also sharing their valuable thoughts and experiences with us and with the audience. Thank you all. Now I would like to hand over this program to Mr. Moinuddin Chaudhary. Mr. Moinuddin Chaudhary.
Thank you, our Honorable Session Chair and Moderator Professor Dr. Nazrul Islam Sir, for your wonderful and interactive way of conducting and summarizing the whole session. Can we have a lot of electronic claps for him, please? Now I would like to invite Professor Moinuddin Chaudhary to deliver his brief vote of thanks. Please, Professor Moinuddin, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saiful, Acting Chair, SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence. I am really speechless because of this huge response from the audiences. I must thank Professor Dr. Nazrul Islam for taking the initiative of arranging this particular international webinar and organized by SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence, of course, presented by SLSD itself. I must thank Professor Dr. Azaz, Dr. Mamunala, Dr. Priyadarshini for their generous support and wonderful presentation to enrich our mental faculty to understand emotional intelligence much better. Sorry from my part because of technical difficulty, but very soon we're going to publish an e-souvenir where you will have all the presentations in one place for public. I must thank Ms. Tania Wahab, Managing Partner, Karigor, as a business leader for giving us our valuable time to take part in this webinar. I must thank Ms. Nahid Islam Biti, coming from Robi Exita, for her valuable time and her participation. Wonderful experience they shared with us. It was a bridge between the academia and the industry. We learned from each other, and I must say that it was a wonderful experience to learn from each other. We have really discovered so many issues of emotional intelligence, and we have, of course, enriched our mental faculty. I would also like to thank our honorable members of SLSD and people who are watching us right at the moment on Facebook. And we look forward to our annual signature program in December. And thank you, Dr. Saiful, for taking your role so proactively, covering me from time to time. And thank you all very much. Thank you, Dr. Saiful. Over to you.
Thank you, Professor Moin, President and CEO of Society for Leadership Skills Development and Chief Patron, SLSD School of Emotional Intelligence. It was a brilliant discussion by our all global experts on emotional intelligence, business leaders, professionals, and excellent interactive session by Professor Dr. Nazrul Islam, sir. Thank you very much, all of our speakers. We are grateful to you for giving your valuable time and delivering your speech. We are publishing an e-souvenir by 7th October 2020 on this international webinar, and of course, recorded version of this international webinar is available soon after some official edit on our YouTube channel. We look forward to seeing you in December 2020 during our International E-Summit on Emotional Intelligence. Thank you all very much. Good night.
Allah Hafiz. Good night. Thank you very much. Thank you all.